I feel like the topic of the Danish Junior MGP has come up a few times in my videos, for example when I talked about the MGP Junior last year. It is a topic that sometimes comes up, especially for hardcore Junior Eurovision fans who are longing for the return of the Scandinavian countries to the contest. And the question does often come up with, why isn't a country like Denmark, the founding fathers of the Junior Eurovision concept, why aren't they taking part anymore? While I touched upon it a little bit in my MGP Nordic video, I do want to go a little bit more into depth about it, because this weekend we actually had this year's MGP and I want to talk a little bit about it. I want to explain the format, the kind of show that we're seeing, the kind of songs that we're hearing, and finally, why I think all of these things mean that we aren't going to be seeing Denmark back in Junior Eurovision anytime soon. Controversial maybe for some, but let's get into it. Some of you might actually think that it's a bit early to have a junior show. We're used to seeing pre-selections for the Junior Eurovision start up sometime around summer. I remember when that used to be the case, at least. In the last couple of years, it's more been in the autumn time. But there is a good reason for this, because MGP, and I'm gonna keep calling it just MGP because it's not actually called MGP Junior here in Denmark. MGP is actually being held on the very same stage that Danish MGP was held just a week prior. Ever since the contest had its revamp back in 2011, the show has actually been held on the same stage the week after Danish MGP. There was a few years where they actually went ahead and did MGP before Danish MGP, but for the most part it's been the week after the big show for the grown-ups. Just like it's been with DMGP in recent years, 8 songs are taking part. It's been like that since 2020, I believe, and it was the case this year as well. One of the things that is a little different, I guess, compared to the modern day Junior Eurovision is that MGP is still very much in the primetime slot. It is a Saturday evening starting up at 7 p.m. And it's definitely a big show pulling in the big guns. This is often a show where we see big personalities in Denmark, big TV personalities, or actors, singers, whatever, who are popular with the kids actually coming in and doing the hosting for the show. This year, the two hosts of the contest was Jonas Madsen, who is a host of the program Ultranyt, which is a news program geared towards children being broadcasted on the children's television channel DR Ultra. And making his debut was Mads Geertsen, better known as Onkel Reje, one of the most popular Danish television characters for children. A character and a person who had to just last year go off screen for a few months, go a little undercover because of an attack on Facebook from parents claiming that him and his shows on Danish kids television were promoting Satanism and pedophilia. Just in case you were wondering how things are going here in Denmark. The show itself doesn't steer too far away from the song contest format. It's been largely the same ever since the program was first truly introduced back in 2001, but it has seen a few changes over the years and some new things in the format. One of the things that I definitely think about that's a little bit different compared to some of the shows that we're used to seeing is the fact that the show has a lot of little skits and they have a lot of pre-recorded segments. It feels very junior, it feels very kid-friendly, and there is a big focus on having fun little skits in between the songs. The show definitely steers more towards a younger crowd than an older crowd. I think if I were to try to put an age range, because I don't think they really have like a certain target age demographic for MGP, but if I were to put one, I would probably say somewhere around the 5 to 10 year olds. At least I feel like that's where most of the pre-recorded segments are geared towards. Some of the songs do deal with a little bit more mature subjects every once in a while, and that can steer the program up to being interesting as well for the 11, 12, 13 year olds, but I don't think there are many kids over the age of 13 watching it here in Denmark, which I feel like is a little bit different compared to Junior Eurovision that definitely feels to try to both appeal to kids but also tweens and teens. This show doesn't do that very much. Not that it has to, it's just an observation. And I do think these little skits in the pre-recorded segments, they add more character to the show. They just add that little extra thing that makes it feel like a proper television production for kids. If I were to compare it to something we've seen in Junior Eurovision, I would probably say something like some of the small skits that we saw when Kiev hosted the contest back in 2013. Or an even better example is probably, for those who remember, the Where Is My Dress song that Poligenova did for the Junior Eurovision in Sofia in Bulgaria. That was very much an attempt of trying to do something similar, I feel like. Unfortunately, we never really saw anything like that again in Junior Eurovision, and in recent years it has been geared way more towards that teen-tween audience. But I think the thing I enjoy the most about the MGP here in Denmark is that the kids are truly in focus. You get to learn about them, their interests and their hobbies throughout the little postcards and little interviews that are done with them after they have performed. And it also just feels like a show that's made by the kids for the kids. The little postcards that they do, where they do a fun little challenge or they do something related to the theme of their song, it very much feels like a program that's supposed to be both fun to watch but also fun to be part of. There is that kind of summer camp environment, I feel like, where you really feel like these children, they get to know each other, they get to form friendships, and they all wanna have each other do well. It is a big production full of love between the children, and you can especially tell that with one of the things that I think is genius in the production, and that is the fact that throughout the songs, throughout the performances, you get to have little sneak peeks into the green room where you can see the kids singing along, almost doing their own little mini dances and little mini performances to the song actually being performed on stage. I love the idea that you can clearly tell that these kids, they love each other's songs, they've learned them by heart, and they're all just so excited to be there. They don't think too much about who's going to win, who's going to lose. They're just all there to have a great time. One of the places where MGP has really kept close to its core, close to the original idea back in 2001, that is definitely that the kids are all the writers and composers of their songs. Kids have to write the songs themselves. They can get a little guidance from adults, a little help, but they do have to make most of it themselves. Of course, this is very different to the modern day Junior Eurovision, where adults are writing most of, if not all of the song. This of course also means that we get some different kind of songs in MGP, but what I really like about the song selection in recent years is that I feel like DR is really doing what they can to make this a very diverse contest. Because you can really tell in this contest, you can really tell that the songs that the children are singing and the topics that they're singing about, it's things that they care about, it's things that they want to talk about, they want to sing about. Which means of course you get a bunch of fun songs about being in love or being a gamer, having little fights with your little sister, all these kinds of things that kids deal with. But we have also seen songs dealing with some more serious topics, something that feels very close to heart for the performer. I think a good example of this is one of the performances from this year, Vika, who sung about being a child of divorce and how she lives 1 week at one parent and another week at the other parent, and the struggle about having, you know, some of your things at one place, some of the things at the other place, and you never really feel like you belong at one place. For a 10-year-old performer, that feels like a very heavy topic, but it's just done very well here in MGP because it's not adults telling her what to sing about or how to feel these feelings. It's her being able to sing a song about how this may be hard sometimes, but we'll get over it. Other good examples is the winner from 2020 about saving the planet. We've definitely seen a lot of these climate change songs, both in Junior Eurovision, but also here in MGP. Another good example is the winner in 2021, a very heartfelt song from the singer Emilia singing about her sister with a disability. And of course, the many songs, just like the winner this year, about trying to bring an end to bullying, believing in yourself, you are good enough as you are. Which is of course great to have these songs do well, because they're all very great messages. But one of the things I also feel like is the fact that this really shows that DR takes the kids seriously, and I feel like that's a big part of MGP. That's a big part of why this show works so well here, is because you really do feel like that the children and the things that they're singing about, it's being taken seriously by the broadcaster. It's not something that we laugh about. It's not something that we brush off as just silly little kid songs. No, they are performed and they are showed off as something that feels very genuine, and the production does a lot to show that they take it seriously. So they do spend money and time on great stagings and great productions. All of these 8 songs, they really do feel well produced, and I feel like that's a thing that's always been the case for MGP. There really is put a lot of love into the production about it, which I really love. The eventual winner of MGP this year, that was 12-year-old Naya with the anti-bullying song called Stop. Once again, a song that's very well produced, sounds great, she sounded great, she had a great vocal, and definitely a very deserving winner. It's funny to think about how I've more often had my personal winner of MGP go on to win the contest compared to Dansk Melodi Grand Prix. I don't know what it says about me or what it says about Dansk Melodi Grand Prix. I'll let you decide. But one of the great things about MGP is definitely that this is much more than just a contest. I've already kind of touched upon in the beginning with the whole summer camp energy, but it really does feel like this. In MGP, you don't really win anything. Sure, you win a little glass trophy, but that's pretty much it. You don't win a record deal, you don't win the chance to go to an international competition, and in general, there isn't a big focus on who is the winner, except for, of course, on the night itself. Because MGP isn't just one Saturday a year. No, it's actually much bigger than that here in Denmark, with the 8 performers from the show taking part in various concerts, festivals, and children's events all over the country, all over the year. It isn't just the winner being able to sing at some of the small festivals or sing in the shopping centers. No, it's all of them. And for the past couple of years, they've even been given their own mega shows in Royal Arena, one of the biggest concert halls, if not the biggest here in Denmark, where 10,000 kids and their parents can experience these 8 songs live. This tour around the country and the performances at various events throughout Denmark really feel like they have become a core part of the MGP experience, and really is a way for not only the winning song, but all of the songs to really have a life of their own after this Saturday evening. I actually got to experience one of these events myself. I was a volunteer for a children's event in the town of Odense a couple of years ago, where 3 of the MGP finalists that year were performing. But they aren't treated like mega stars. They aren't put this huge pressure on them to go up there and sing and write autographs. They do get to do that, but they also just get to hang out and have fun. This was an event with multiple little things that you could do throughout this big grass field that we were in. And the MGP children, when they were done performing, they just had the chance to go out there and try out some of the little mini games and everything going on there. It wasn't that, you know, they were forced to sit in a green room and really just get ready for their performance. They got to experience it and be normal kids as well. So I really love that about it. I don't think you necessarily take part in MGP as a child because you dream of becoming a singer. Of course there are some that do, but I feel like there are also kids sending in songs just for the fun of it, just because they want to be on that stage and have fun. And it may just be a fad, you know, they're just writing a little song, they're going up there and performing, and then they're never thinking about singing again. Because it's not a show that's made to promote talent, it's a show that's made to promote fun. Out of the past 10 winners of the contest, from what I could gather, it's only around 4 who are still working with music. One of the past winners has since become an actress, but in general, you don't see a lot of these past MGP finalists actually showing up in something like Dansk Melodi Grand Prix or other singing competitions or on Spotify or whatever. Some of them do release songs once they've taken part, but it's definitely far from all of them. I think the main takeaway that I always think about whenever I watch MGP and whenever I have a Junior Eurovision in mind is that these two shows, they serve two different purposes. Junior Eurovision is a talent competition. It is well-crafted pop songs written by adults, sung by children who have gotten vocal training and in many cases have some form of connection to the music industry already. Where MGP, like I've already said, it's much more than a singing competition. I wouldn't even call it a talent competition because this isn't meant to sound harsh, so I really don't hope it sounds harsh, but it's not a requirement that you're good at singing for taking part in MGP. And I don't think it should be either, because clearly the focus of the show is something completely different. And from the outside, I can get why that sounds a little bit weird. Why would you want to watch a show with a bunch of children who cannot sing? But we have to remember that we, the adults, is sitting and making videos about something like the Junior Eurovision. We aren't the target audience, children are. And children just perceive music and singing capabilities in a different way. I definitely remember one of my favorite songs from back in the days in MGP when I was just a kid. You know, looking back at those songs, they definitely don't sound as good as I remember them doing when I was younger. The show, the skits, the hosts, everything going on with MGP definitely very much reflects the rest of what DR are doing when it comes to their offerings, TV offerings for children. And I think that's the point, and I think that's also why something like Junior Eurovision is so hard to do for broadcasters all over Europe, because while we may have an idea of what a singing competition for adults is, a singing competition for kids can be wildly different from country to country and from broadcaster to broadcaster. And there are definitely broadcasters taking part in Junior Eurovision that don't really do any other children's television besides this program, where if you look at DR, they really do a lot when it comes to children's television. They are some of the best in Europe for producing television for kids, and this show is right in line with everything else DR is doing. But the main reason, the main thing why I think we won't see Denmark in Junior Eurovision again anytime soon is the fact that MGP is still thriving. And I know that's a boring answer, but I really do feel like that's the case. MGP is still able to pull in the same viewership that it's done for years. The songs are still being played in the playground. The songs are doing well on Spotify. They're doing well on YouTube. Children from all over the country come and experience these different events where the MGP kids are performing, and they're loving it. The brand MGP is huge in Denmark, and Junior Eurovision, even in the 3 years that we did take part, it was just never that huge. I have a lot of friends my own age who love the old MGP songs, who remember listening and jumping along to some of their favorite MGP tracks back in the beginning of the 2000s, but they don't necessarily remember Junior Eurovision. And I think that's honestly one of the things that even if Junior Eurovision were to become more like MGP, were to adapt more of these things, I still don't necessarily think we would see Denmark in it. Not only does the time of year just not fit at all, it doesn't make sense to have an MGP in February and then, you know, you don't have Junior Eurovision until November, and I don't imagine DR ever like moving away from the format they have right now, because it really does seem like it's working for them having MGP and Danish Melodi Grand Prix in the same venue. So that's one issue. But there's also just the issue, like I mentioned, about this is such a big IP already. Why change something that ain't broken? Junior Eurovision, that also costs a lot of money. Why take part in it when it's not necessary for the core product? Maybe it is a boring answer. Maybe it isn't exactly the answer you were hoping for, but I really do feel like it's the case. If the rumors with Norway potentially taking part in Junior Eurovision again in 2025, if those do turn out to be true, maybe things will be different. But for now, I really do see an MGP that is 100% its own, that's 100% thriving in its format, and I don't see any big changes coming up anytime soon.